Hey everyone, my name is Josh and welcome back to your 4th Stimulus Check and News Update. In today's video, we have a lot of news to get into, but first, if you would like to receive 2 free stocks from Webull valued up to $2,300, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. Okay, so with progressive Democrats threatening to reject the bipartisan infrastructure bill, Nancy Pelosi is now promising to hold a vote on the reconciliation bill this week in hopes to talk them off the ledge. But is that going to be enough to get the progressives on board to pass the bipartisan bill first? Here is Representative Pramila Jayapal discussing whether or not that's going to be enough for her.
Congresswoman, we all learned in the last couple of hours from Speaker Pelosi that there will be, she says, a reconciliation vote next week. We're going to see a markup this weekend. I know you'll be working long hours. So is a promise of a reconciliation vote enough to get progressives to a yes on the bipartisan infrastructure bill first?
Hi, Garrett. It's great to see you. No, that won't be enough, but we really do support Pelosi's, the Speaker's efforts to move the reconciliation bill along, just because there are some final pieces that need to be put together in order to say this is the vision that we have for the reconciliation bill, for the Build Back Better Act. So I'm looking forward to going into budget markup. The discussions are continuing, both behind the scenes, privately, with the White House, with the Senate, with the House, with some of us intra-chamber conversations. And we are going to get both these bills done. That is my firm belief. That is what I said to the president the other day. The progressives, frankly, have had the president's back from the very beginning. This is the Build Back Better agenda that the president laid out to Congress many, many months ago, back in February. And we have been saying we're not leaving one part of the agenda behind and giving up on the idea of childcare, paid leave, community college, health care. These are things that people will feel immediately, along with making sure that we address immigration and that we address climate change. These are critical priorities for the Democratic agenda. So we will get the reconciliation bill as close as we can, but the conversations obviously have to be with the Senate. There's no point in just saying the House will pass. We've always said we need to pre-conference it.
So Jayapal is saying here that a promise to vote on the reconciliation bill in the House isn't going to be nearly enough. Jayapal and other progressive Democrats realize that while they'll have no issues passing the reconciliation bill in the House, in the Senate, it just won't fly. This is because the 2 moderate Democrats in the Senate, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who currently aren't on board with that much additional spending. So it could pass in the House, but it won't stand a chance of being signed into law if they don't first get Manchin and Sinema on board. So basically, no bipartisan infrastructure bill without first having Manchin and Sinema agreeing to reconciliation. Jayapal is then asked when exactly she plans on having meetings with Manchin and Sinema in order to work something out. Take a listen.
Well, let's talk about that. I mean, what does that effort look like? I was struck by the fact that these White House meetings this week, you had the progressives in one meeting, the moderates in another meeting. When are you and Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema going to sit down in a room together and have this conversation directly?
Well, I'm very happy to do that. And actually, there have been the beginnings of that starting to happen. So I think, let's
well, what does that mean? What are the beginnings of those conversations? Is somebody sending somebody an Outlook invite here, or what's going on?
Yeah, we've gotten requests to have those meetings. So we're happy to do that, and we'll get scheduled very soon. So, my thing is that we've got to understand the bipartisan infrastructure negotiations. Remember when they were supposed to be done one week, and then that week stretched to another week, and then another week?
Oh, yes.
And remember it really well, Garrett. You were there every step of the way. But the reality is we just need a little bit more time. I don't think we need a lot of time, but we do need a little bit more time, and we need the urgency. And so there's no point in, Monday is an arbitrary date. It could be moved easily, because the reality is the bill coming up and not having the votes is not something that the Speaker will be willing to do, and we don't have the votes for it. So let's just finish. Let's remember we're all part of the same team. This is the president's Democratic agenda, and we're all Democrats. So let's just finish this, get the reconciliation bill done, as was agreed upon in the Senate. When those senators voted for the bipartisan infrastructure bill, they did so on the condition that this exact thing that we're saying right now is what happens. The reconciliation bill passes, and then we'll be happy to vote for the infrastructure bill.
So it sounds like she's more than willing to meet with Manchin and Sinema and nail down reconciliation, but the only question is, will the three be able to work out any type of deal? In the mind of progressive Democrats, $3.5 trillion is the floor and the lowest they're willing to go. But in the mind of Manchin, somewhere in the $1.5 to $2 trillion range is how much it should end up being. Obviously, at this point, they're not even close, so one side is going to have to budge to get either of these bills finished up. Meanwhile, while Democrats struggle to get reconciliation done, they're also finding it quite difficult to even fund the government past September. Tomorrow, it is expected that the Senate will be voting on the House-passed government funding bill, and they will need at least 60 votes in order for it to pass. This means out of the 50 Republicans in the Senate, they'll need at least 10 of them to approve the bill. And at this point, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has already said he has no plans on approving the current bill. Unless 10 Republicans rebel against McConnell, which isn't all that likely, then the bill is going to end up failing. If this is the case, Democrats will need to fund the government and raise the debt ceiling through another route, perhaps through another reconciliation package. They won't have much time though, as Congress has until the end of this month in order to avert a government shutdown. If Republicans can keep the Democrats from raising the debt ceiling, they'll make it impossible for them to pass the $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill. Republicans want the Democrats to be the sole responsible ones for all this extra spending, extra debt, and all of the possible negative impacts that could end up taking place. Here is Senator Bernie Sanders unloading on Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell over his refusal to raise the debt ceiling.
Mr. President, Republican leader Mitch McConnell this morning once again reiterated that the Republican Party will not vote to lift the debt ceiling, and in an extraordinarily irresponsible manner, Republicans have indicated that they will not pay the debts incurred under the Trump administration. In his statement, as he has done time and time again, Senator McConnell implies that this debt ceiling has something to do with future spending. It does not. Like anyone who owns a credit card, the payments that are made are for past spending. In this case, spending incurred under the Trump administration. And let us be clear. If the United States, the largest economy in the world, defaults on its debt, it will plunge not only our country, but the entire global economy into what could become a severe economic depression. That means massive unemployment, higher interest rates, severe reduction in government services, and possible cuts in such programs as Social Security and Medicare. The irresponsibility of the Republican leadership is not just something that I worry about. According to press reports, former Republican Secretaries of State, Secretaries of Treasury Hank Paulson, who worked under George W. Bush, and Steven Mnuchin, who worked under Donald Trump, Republican Secretaries of the Treasury, both of them visited with Senator McConnell to make the case about the need to extend the debt ceiling.
In a tweet by McConnell, he said, Democrats do not get to ram through radical, far-left policies on party-line votes, brag about how they are transforming the country, but then demand for bipartisan cover for racking up historic debt. As I've said since July, they will need to address the debt limit themselves. So obviously, if the government does in fact end up shutting down at the end of this month, a lot of negative effects could end up taking place. First off, a delay of the distribution of Social Security payments may end up taking place. Since 1935, when Social Security was first created, there has not been one instance of a missed payment. And according to the president of Social Security Works, Nancy Alman, checks will continue to be issued even if Democrats are unable to raise the debt ceiling. This is because it works as a pension plan, which is separate from the government's General Operation Fund. So even though the payments may end up being delayed, Alman says at the very least, Social Security beneficiaries should know the payments will eventually arrive. These checks, of course, have pinched Social Security recipients more and more over the past several months this year, with prices increasing while the payments have just remained the same. Even though it is expected that the cost of living adjustment will see its largest increase in decades, those payments unfortunately won't take effect until next year, leaving many recipients struggling to get by through the end of this year. And this is why one petition was created and is still available by the Senior Citizens League, calling on Congress to pass a one-time $1,400 payment to Social Security recipients. With this check, seniors could help themselves cover the rising expenses over the rest of this year while they await the cost of living adjustment that will end up taking place in 2022. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. Again, if you would like to receive a couple free stocks from Webull, make sure to claim them by clicking my link, which you will find in the description box below. To receive the first stock, you will need to fully open an account. Then to receive the second free stock, which will be valued up to $2,000, you'll need to make a qualifying deposit of at least $5. And even if you aren't all that interested in investing or continue to invest at this point in time, you can always sell the free stocks that you receive and transfer that money, however much they're worth, right back to your bank account. So free stocks or free money is completely up to you. So once again, I hope everyone has a great and safe rest of their Sunday, and I'll see you in the next video.